Today we're gonna be talking about concussions. Got my doctor here, Dr. Noel, and so before we get started about that, have my guy, man. We're gonna put up some football hits for you guys, and so that way you can see, the impacts and blows that these guys take on the field. Here comes the, here comes the, here comes the, y'all really want it now. Here comes the, here comes the, here comes the, y'all really want it now.
Concussions are very important because it happens in various sports, not just football, but basketball, hockey. Concussion, what is it? It's a traumatic brain injury. Anything that can happen by a forceful bump, blow, or bruise to the head. It's significant enough to rattle the brain inside the skull. Now, you talked about categories, there's
right.
3. So the first level is mild. That's no concussion, there's no loss of consciousness, there's just confusion and amnesia, those type of symptoms for less than 15 minutes. Once it goes over 15 minutes, but it's still less than 30, that's when you got moderate traumatic brain injury. And then you have severe, which is anything plus those symptoms above 30 minutes, which can last to days. And it's pretty detrimental. So most of research findings show that mild traumatic brain injuries, that's what happens most of the time in the NFL especially. And this is dangerous because a lot of athletes will get concussions and they won't even know it. They'll just feel that loss of consciousness, the amnesia for like 15 minutes, but it'll go unreported. So that's why this research is very important. And so what my research team does when research on the detrimental effects of concussions on cognitive decline. So what our research entailed, we had 6-month post-concussed athletes, and we compared them to 6-month non-concussed athletes, and athletes that were exposed to the same environment, playing in the same league, but didn't have any concussions. So the cognitive test that we use to assess these players is called the impact test, and that's short for immediate post-concussion assessment. And so what this does, it tests for neurological deficits inside the player, and it helps to determine any interventions that we may need. So what this impact test will let us know is how severe it is, what are the steps that he needs to take to get back on his feet and return to play safely. And I like where this discussion is going, but I want to bring in a neurologist and talk to you guys briefly about how concussions impact the brain as far as the mental health aspect. Right here, Arthur Allen, he's a neurospecialist. Give us, what it is, man, that you've researched and found out.
Well, first and foremost, thanks for having me on your show.
Absolutely, man.
But like we said, concussions are a major problem going on in athletics and predominantly the NFL right now. The more concussions you have or someone sustains, the increased risk for neurological problems and mental problems as well. We want to talk about where concussions occur.
Right.
They mainly occur in boxing.
Right.
But as I guess you had a doctor earlier talking about the NFL and his study.
Okay.
They football, ice hockey, and rugby, mixed martial arts, and like I said, boxing. But boxing is the number one sport that actually gets concussions. And what I want to talk about now is the mental problems that can occur.
Okay.
Concussions. You got depression, anxiety, impulsive and aggression disorders,
Right.
Substance abuse.
And sometimes you see a lot of that with, the guys who pass away.
Yeah.
I think, for instance, like Sayar, man, it was reported that he was, really aggressive, in his family.
And depressed.
Right, and depressed, before he ended up taking his own life. So, I've definitely seen that, man, in research studies and even in the cases that come out,
Right.
behind these players who pass away from CTE. But, continue.
Yeah. So like we got the substance abuse and
Right.
then memory problems. Trying to remember things, and it's your brain. The impact on the brain is just
Detrimental.
It's detrimental.
Right.
And you also have suicide. That the depression and anxiety and all that eventually gets to a player, and then might just kill themselves.
Right.
So a big thing really in the NFL now is the occurrence of CTE.
Right.
Obviously you don't get one doesn't get diagnosed with that until post-mortem, which is after they pass. But it comes from a banged up brain, repetitive head trauma. So it's a degeneration of the brain tissue with the individual of someone that has a history of repetitive brain injuries. And like you said, like the doctor said, it's higher in football. So you see CTE in football. We really see CTE in boxing as well.
Right.
You mentioned we got Andre Watkins, who is, I believe, Eagles,
Right.
one of the Eagles' former players, and he had problems with depression and aggression, and he committed suicide as well. And as you saw, they studied his brain. It actually showed resemblance of an 80-year-old's brain with Alzheimer's. So his brain tissue was degenerated. And he got Ken Stabler, who was also
He was Raiders, man.
actually, and we have Junior Seau right here actually.
Yeah.
One of the top explosive linebackers of the game back in his time.
Oh, yeah.
And just them constant hits, he just bang up his brain. Concussions are just a major deal right now, and
Right.
we have to try to get that under control.
All right, man. Welcome back. Right now with me, I have Elliot Baldwin. He plays center at Winston-Salem State University. He's going to talk to us briefly about his experience while playing football. So, welcome, man. Good to have you on the show.
Nice to be here, man. Appreciate you.
So, what's going on, man? So, how was it for you playing football, man? Did you suffer a concussion yourself, or did you know anybody that did?
Football's always been good to me. I love playing the game. As far as a concussion, I never sustained one myself, but I know plenty of people that have.
But are you doing research right now outside of football? I know your collegiate career is done. Have you started doing any research on, preventative measures for players?
Like working with my strength and conditioning coach and having an internship with him. We did basically a lot of flexibility and resistant exercises. Basically, he was telling me the stronger your neck is, the less likely it is for you to sustain a concussion on the football field.
Yeah, that's interesting. What we're gonna have next is an NFL player by the name of Thomas Jones. He played for the Kansas City Chiefs.
I've been hit where I see black spots. I've been hit where I see two of you. So I see you're here and you're here. I've had times where I've been hit and I literally have been in the game. The coach or the quarterback or somebody was talking to me and I literally was just, I'm hearing you, but I'm not listening. It's almost like you have a remote control to yourself. In football, a lot of times, I think especially for a running back, it's because you've had some sort of hit over the course of the game to where some part of your brain is taking you to a different dimension, and I can't.
So I brought back our doctors, man. To finish out, fellas. Did you guys have anything that you wanted to speak on briefly, man, before we end the show?
We think it's very important for our society to start taking action for these problems that are going on and for our athletes, pretty much. So here's an important study that I found by Daniel G. Amen, with a lot of other my colleagues that I've worked with before. This was a cohort study where they compared previous NFL players, and what they found was alarming. NFL players, 92%, have a decreased proficiency in cognitive proficiency. So, and 86% had a decreased memory speed, memory loss. So all this stuff is very alarming, Rich, and something needs to happen now. We can't keep watching the sport like nothing's happening, doing something that's putting their life on the line.
To our neurologist, man, do you have any closing remarks or closing statements that you have?
Yeah, along with damage to the brain increases at a higher risk for severe depression, anxiety, aggression, impulsivity, substance abuse, memory, the things I listed earlier.
Right.
But there's a study that actually, had 797 former athletes, and it showed that the majority of those signs of mental and cognitive problems. We also had a study looking at 30 retired NFL players, and they all showed significant correlation between the number of lifetime concussions and depressive symptoms. So yeah, it's very big concussions on the mental health and the cognitive aspect of their lives.
Right.
The more your head gets pounded, of course, then it's
Right.
We don't want you guys to stop playing football. That's the last thing, because we love the sport, but we want you to take preventative measures.
Right. But I definitely thank you guys for coming on the show, man. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Allen, for coming on the show. Until next time, man.
Tradition.